Thank very much for
No, no,
thanks.
thank you.
Okay. Uh, we are on, I believe, Vav Amid Bays. We're on the first wide line. We had seen so far three shitas. If you look on the top of the Amid, the first words on the Amid before the two dots, which are, I don't know why they are there, it says Nigmar Adoniyata Rishoy Lev. That's the first shita. That once there's a Gemar Din, it's too late for a pshara. You can only do a pshara before a Gemar Din. Then we saw Rabbi Elazar ben Aisha Rabbi Yossi Aglili who says Asur L'Tzaya, pshara is Asur. Then we saw Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Let me see where that is. Somewhere in the middle over there, in the middle of the narrow lines. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, I'm a mitzvah L'Tzaya. So it's a mitzvah to be Beitzaya. That's the second, and now that's a third actually, right? The Tanakama who says up to the Gemar Din, Rebbe Elazar who says it's Aser, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha who says it's a mitzvah, and now we're going to say Rabbi Shimon ben Menashe on the first wide line. Rabbi Shimon ben Menashe, Oy mishnayim shebol levnecha ladin, ad shalei tishma divreim, oy mish divreim v'yati yadei lehechen yadei noita. When two people come to you with the din Torah, as long as you haven't yet heard their tainus, or even when you heard their tainus, but you still haven't come to a conclusion, the judge has not come to a conclusion in his mind which way he thinks it's going to go, you can still tell him go and find a pshara. So this is different than the Tanakama, which the Gemara is going to cut back to in a minute. But Tanakama said Nigmar Hadin, up to the Gemara Din, you could make a pshara, he says, up until you come to a conclusion in your mind. But once you have a conclusion, even though there's no Gemara Din, you can't do a pshara. Shenemar, Poiter Mayim, Rashis Modern. When you reach when you poiter, when you give up Mayim is darshan in this context to be a machlekes when people are arguing. So when you resolve an argument, Rashis Modern, that's the beginning of the din. So as long as I see what it means is that, and then it continues, his gala hariv netosh. And before the argument becomes nitzgala, which in this case context we mean before the judgment, the decision becomes aware what the decision is going to be, netosh, you should get rid of it. So netosh means koydem shenizgala hariv ati yachal l'nachshay. Before the riv gets exposed, before you know what the result is going to be, yachal l'nachshay. Up until that point, you can resolve it with the pshar, but after that, you can't. Okay. We are up to, again, the first of the very wide lines on Vav Amid Beis, about 12, 14 lines from the bottom. The Gemara says in parentheses V'reish Lakish, but it really is Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish or Rabbi Yossi ben Lakish or Rabbi Shua ben Lakish, because it's a Tana. We'll continue. There's a Brisa. It's not Reish Lakish who's the number. Shnayim shabo ledin echad rach v'echad kash. If two people come to a din Torah and one of them is a soft guy and one is a tough guy, actually tishma divrayim, before the judge even hears their tainus, but you still don't know which one is going to win. The judge can tell them, I'm not going to deal with you. Maybe the mobster will be the one who's chayiv, and he's scared he's going to be the subject of his ire. But once the judge has heard their positions, and the judge knows which way the judgment is likely to go, you can't say, I'm not going to get involved in this machlokes. You shouldn't be afraid of any man. Once you have a judgment, you have to give it. You can't be afraid. I guess that means, but before you come to a conclusion, you're still able to back out because you're being cautious. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha Omer, Minayin l'talmud sheyoshev nei rabbi. How do we know that a Talmud who's sitting in front of his Rebbe, he sees his Rebbe is about to be done a din Torah, the Rebbe is a dayan, the Talmud is not, and the Talmud has a taina that could help one of the parties. How do we know that the Talmud shouldn't be quiet? We say you shouldn't stop because of any man, even a Rebbe, which is not like the din we said before that a Talmud cannot be done a din in front of his Rebbe. This is talking about giving suggestion to his Rebbe. He's not being done, he's just reminding his Rebbe of something. He says you shouldn't keep your words to yourself. He teaches the word sagur differently, not that you shouldn't be afraid, but rather you shouldn't keep your words to yourself. You shouldn't store them and not share them. Neish. The Edom have to be aware. Edom, and we're talking about Edom, we're not talking about judges right now. The Edom have to know when they say Edus, when they say testimony, they have to know it's mihen meidin. Who are they saying testimony about? Essentially, saying about the Rabbeinu Shalom, because the Rabbeinu Shalom is the one who's going to have to make good anyone who, the Rashi says, but the Rebbeinu Shalom essentially is going to have to make good for anyone who gets misjudged. The Rebbeinu Shalom keeps all the accounts square. So a aide who says something, he's causing the Rebbeinu Shalom to be Isaac. And also in front of whom they're saying their aide, the Rebbeinu Shalom is present in every din Torah. And who's going to make the Eidim pay back if they do wrong? V'amdu shnei hanoshim is the Eidim, and then Asher Hamariv is the parties Lifnei Hashem, but it's all in front of Hashem. So this is the last, the second one of these things. In front of who aren't they saying their testimony? The Brisa continues. The Yonah have to be aware who are they judging, and in front of whom they're judging, and who is going to pay back to them. The same categories, like we said, by an aid. Shenemar Elikim Nitzav ba'adis kel. The Rebbeinu Shalom sits in the adis kel. The adis kel is referring to a judgment. So the Rebbeinu Shalom is there. This is the last one. The first one of the categories. Es mihein dan ulfnei mihein dan, in front of who they are judging. He says to the Shoftim, Re'u ma'atem oisim. Watch what you're doing, ki loy la'adam tishbetu, because you're not judging a person. Ki im Hashem, you're judging Hashem. Like we said before, because he's causing that Hashem is the one who's going to have to pay back the parties. Shema Yomer Adayin Mali B'tzarazeh. Maybe a Dayan will say, what am I starting with this whole thing? Look how much responsibility is on my head from saying it in. I'll just avoid the whole thing. Talmud Loime Imchem B'dvar Mishpat. The end of that pasuk is, I'll be with you with Dvar Mishpat. Ein lo l'dayin alamasha ein rois. A Dayan is not, as long as he's competent and he knows the halachas, and he tries to do the din to the best of his ability, the proper din, that's all he's responsible for. Past that, the Rebbeinu Shalom takes responsibility for him. According to the Tanakam, we said Nigmar din yata r'shoy l'vtzaya. Once there's a Gemar din, there's no possibility of compromise. As soon as you say someone is chayiv a potter, the Dayanim pronounce someone guilty or innocent or responsible to pay or not responsible, that's the Gemar din. At that point, it's too late for a pshara. Rav, halach Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Rav says the halach is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, who had said that it's a mitzvah to do a pshara. Iniva Rav Huna, Talmidei de Rav Hava. Rav was the one who just said halach is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, that's a mitzvah. Rav Huna was the Talmud of Rav. Ki Hava also l'kamei, the Rav Huna, when litigants came in front of Huna, Amalahu, he didn't be so pshar. So he'd ask them, what do you prefer? Would you prefer a din Torah or would you prefer a pshara? So l'chayra, that's not saying like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha said it's a mitzvah, and he just gave them an option. He didn't push them to do a pshara. So my mitzvah nami to come Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. Gemara says no. That's never what. When we said it's a mitzvah, Rabbi Shua ben Karcha said it's a mitzvah. Mitzvah lememra lahu idina beisu pshara beisu. All he was saying is if you should give them the choice. It didn't mean that you should force them or push them to do one way or the other. You just have to give them the option. Correct the Gemara, Hainu Tanakama. If that's the case, how is that different than the Tanakama? Tanakama said after the Gemara din, you can't do a pshara, but Tzvai says before that you can. So
well, we said Shimon ben Asya was the one who said that we're going in with Karcha.
Yeshua ben Karcha said it's a mitzvah, right? We said the mitzvah is only to give that option. He wasn't saying that like we had thought that you have to, that he has to push it. Just said give the option. So Gemara is saying if it's just an option, how is that different than the Tanakama who said after the Gemara din you can't do a compromise, but before that you can. This is a rishus also. You could give that option. So Gemara, mitzvah. The question is whether it's a mitzvah to give the option. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha sav a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to at least give the option. Tanakama sav a rishus. Tanakama holds it's totally a rishus. If you want, you could give the option of pshar. If you want, you don't have to. In fact, the Gemara, Hainu de Shimon ben Menasya. But that's the case that the Tanakama holds it to rishus. That's the same as Shimon ben Menasya. So when it says no, Shimon ben Menasya also did not say there's any mitzvah, and he said you can only do it up to a certain time. But there's a different time. The difference is after you already heard what they said, at that point, according to Shimon ben Menasya, you no longer have the option of saying go and make a compromise. While according to the Tanakama, you could still do it up to the point of the Gemara din. So that's the Gemara. Now we're going back to the pasuk of what was it? Beteach Berach Neitz Hashem. Upligader of Tancha Bachanoi. The Amr of Tancha Bachanoi Leinema Mikrozeh Elkan Maisa Egel. Beteach Berach Neitz Hashem. That this is talking about the Maisa Egel. Shenema Vayar Aaron Vayivin Vayir Aaron. Aaron was afraid Vayivin Mizbeach Lefonov, and he built a Mizbeach for the Egel. Ma'ra. What did Aaron see? What did he see that made him build a Mizbeach? Amr ben Yam bar Yeves, Amr Belazar Ra Chur Zavuach Lefanov. He saw that Chur was killed for standing up to the people who wanted to make an egel. Amr Eloi Shamana Lahu. If I don't listen to them, Hashta right now, Avdu Likada Avdu Bechur. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to kill me just like they killed Chur. Makayim be im Yarag b'Mikdash Hashem Kayim v'Navi. The pasuk says that if there's a pasuk in Eicha. That at the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, the Rebbeinu Shalom said, if you're going to kill my Kayin and my Navi, then the consequences of the Beis HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. If they're going to be over on such a terrible avera of killing me, Aaron said, there's never going to be a takana. Mutav deli avdu le'egel, better they should be over the egel, efsher havalu takanta b'tshuva. The egel they could do tshuva on, if they kill me, there'll be no tshuva. Zak Gemara. V'hani tanoi poiter mayim reishis modern my darshibe. The other man, the Amrim, who don't darshan poiter mayim reishis modern the way that Shimon ben Asya had said to tell you up to the Zman where they know which way the din is naita. What do they do with that pasuk? Kidder Rav Hamnuna. They use it like Rav Hamnuna. Amar Rav Hamnuna. Ein tchilas dina shel adam nidin el al divrei Torah. The Torah is judged first on his learning. Shenamar poiter mayim reishis modern. Mayim is a analog for learning. It's a word used to refer to learning. So what the person did as far as Torah, that's the first thing, reishis modern. That's the beginning of a person's judgment. If you look at the Taisus, if we have a second, El al divrei Torah, Badamrinu perik b'memadlikin sheshaylin loy nisis lasata This is Menasata Be'emuna. The first thing a person is asked if he was honest in his business dealings. And then afterwards you ask him kavata itam l'Torah. Now we're saying the first thing he's asked is about Torah. So it's shver on that Gemara in Shabbos. It's like Hatzam ba'adam she'oisik b'Torah mari. Ela shalei kava itim. Over there it's talking about someone who was oisik in Torah, but he was not kava itim. V'hacha mari k'shalei isik klal. So if someone was oisik in Torah, but he wasn't kava itim, the first question is going to be, did you do your avodah? Did you do your business honestly? And then the second thing is legabi Torah. But someone who's not oisik klal, that's going to be the first taina that you didn't learn at all. Baruch Hashem, we are not going to have either of these problems. We learn and we're kavei it, except for tonight was not the regular time. Okay. The second wide line, Amar of Huna, Hai Tigra de Maya, Litzinura de Bitka de Maya. Kivin de Ravach. Hai Tigra, when a person gets into a machlekes, Dami Litzinura de Bitka de Maya. It's like a ditch that's made out of water, that as soon as it opens, the water opens once a person opens up a trench with water, it gets bigger and bigger. The water opens up the hole in the dike and knocks it down. That's the way it is with the machlekes. Once you allow the machlekes to start, it inevitably gets bigger and bigger. Abaye Kashisha Amar, Domi Laguda de Gamla. It's like a plank of a bridge, keeping the come. Once the plank is in place, it's firmly in place and it never leaves. The same thing with the machlekes. Once a machlekes starts, it becomes like the Hatfields and McCoys, and it lasts for many dairies. Shammai v'Shesi Shiva Zimoris Hava Simon. So this is going to be a long list of sayings, popular sayings, that the Gemara is going to find a source, a pasuk, to support the sayings. So Gemara, Hahuda have a ka'ama v'azal. There are people who used to say, Tuvya deshama v'adish chalfua bishtei ma. Someone, Tuvya deshama v'adish, someone who listens and he lets things go, chalfua bishtei ma. It will take the place of 100 things that would have happened, 100 bishas, 100 embarrassments that would have happened. Meaning by a person, when he has an opportunity to get insulted and start a machlekes, he decides not to do so, he's changing a little bit of embarrassment for 100 fights, 100 insults. Amalei Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda Kroksit. There's a pasuk that says, Poiter Mayim Reishis Mad. This is how we're getting into this, because this is the pasuk that we've been talking about. Poiter Mayim, meaning someone who Mayim, we said, is a riv, is a machlekes. Someone whose pot is a riv, reishis modern. It's reish meyadini. It's the place of 100, like we said, insults. Hahuda b'ka'ama v'azal. There's another saying. Atarti tlas gam v'lei miktal. If a person steals 2 or 3 times, he's not going to get killed. And Rosh Hashanah doesn't pay him back right away. He'll get his einish certainly, but he doesn't die right away. Amalei Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda Kroksev, and we have a pasuk on that. Kamei Hashem al shloisha pishi Yisrael, on 3 averis the Yidden can live. Al arba lo yashivenu, but on the 4th one, I'm not gonna let it go. So the 4th time, that's already gets an immediate response. Who to have a kama v'azal? Another thing they used to say, shav biri l'shalmana, 7 biris, 7 holds a person will encounter when he's a shalmana, he's a shalem, he's a good person. But someone who does averis, he'll fall into the first one. Amalei Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda Kroksev, we have a pasuk on this. Kisheva yipol tzadik v'kam, and in the parentheses it sort of paraphrases the end of that pasuk. The end of that pasuk actually is V'rushayim yikoshlu bara, but a tzaddik sheva yipol tzaddik, and he'll get up. He'll avoid the 7 virus. But the Russia, as soon as he comes across the first one, he's going to fall in. Hudavakam of Azal, the Azal Mibeidina, Shakal, Glima, someone who leaves the Bezdin and they take away his cloak as payment for his what he's chayev. Lizma Zemer, he should sing a song. Belezel Ba'orcha, should go happily on his road. Because he was saved from whatever it was they found him guilty of, that he had to pay. They saved him from keeping a gazelle in his house. Omei Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda, crux of we have a pasuk on also on this. V'gam kol ha'am hazeh el makame yaveh b'shalom. Then this is the pasuk. V'mesadavar hazeh tasev tzivcha lekim v'yacholta amoid. V'gam kol ha'am hazeh el makame yaveh b'shalom. After the Baruch Shalom tells you your psak, you should go. Everyone's going to go back in peace, both sides of the Torah, because they're both going to get the person who's chayiv. He's really better off from having been found chayiv in it. Hudavakam of Azal. He naima v'dikula shafel. What is this again? It's a lot to remember. He naima v'dikula v'shiksheh isha minam nemes hasal shal roisha. When a woman has a basket that she gets when a woman sleeps, he naima, when she sleeps, the kula shuffle, her basket that she's working on shuffle becomes bad because she's not working so hard, it gets ruined. Amalei Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda crux of we have a pasuk on that. When a person is lazy, it will destroy the beam. It will cause the beam to weaken. Ahud avakam of Azal, Gavra derachitzna aleh ad yelegziza v'kam. Ad yelegziza v'kam harem egroiv v'alai v'amad l'negdi. If a person that you depended on, ad yelegziza v'kam, he'll turn around and stab you in the back. You can't trust anyone. Amay Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda Kroksim. Gamish Shloimi Asher B'Tachta Boy. The pasuk continues. Ches. Oichel Lachmi Higdil Yaakov. The person, the poor I depended on, he ate my bread and he stabbed me in the back. Huda V'Kam of Azal. Kirich. This is interesting. Kirachimtin Havi Aziza. When the affection for one's spouse is strong, apushya the safsira shchiven. They can even sleep on the blade of a sword. It's not going to be too crowded on the blade of a sword for ish v'ishtai. Hashta loy aziza, but when things are not good, rechimasan, they're not affectionate. Porya bar shisin garmidi, even a bed of 60 amas leisagilan. It's not going to be big enough to contain the glares that are going back and forth. Amar of Huna Kroiksiv. There's a pasuk on this. Make Karaksev. But v'neidati l'chasham v'dibarat chachamei kapiris. The Baruch says, I'm going to talk to you from on the kapiris. Betanya aron tisha v'kapiris tefach. The kapiris was just a tefach. Harei kanasar. That's all 10. You see, the kapiris was only a tefach. The Baruch could be together with the Bnei Yisrael even in a small place. It was 60 amas long and 20 amas wide, and 30 amas high. Even though the Beis Hamikdash is so big, the Rebbeinu Shalom says that my seat is in the Shamayim, and the Eretz is the footstool for my feet. What is this house that you're going to build for me? So the Gemara, basically, the Rebbeinu Shalom says the entire Beis Hamikdash is not big enough when he's angry at the Bnei Yisrael. Then the whole world becomes his place of the place for the Hashchavas Hashchina, because it's like a person who's in a fight. He needs a very large space in order to not constantly be angry at the person that he has tightness on. So we said a pshat before that the lashon leisaga b'fnei ish means that you shouldn't keep it to yourself. Amar of Nachman Amar Krab v'yayin leitishta v'leisaagar. You shouldn't drink wine and you shouldn't gather it. So saguru can also be a lashon of gathering. Tachem bakayitz lachma, prepare in the summer your bread. Igra b'katzir, and gather it in the time of the katzir, in the autumn. So you see, agra, so sagur is also a lashon of being kindness, of taking in. Katzir ma'chal. You will gather in the summer the son who is smart. Just a tight word. Okay, we'll do a little bit more. Emes mimun yer simin amr of Shmuel bar Nachmani amr of Yochanan kol dayan shedon din emes la'amitai, a dayan who does the din properly. Masher shchina b'Yisrael, he causes the shchina to go down to the yin. Shenemar elikim nitza ba'adas kel b'karev elikim yishpoit. The Rebbeinu Shalom will stand in the adas kel and amongst the elikim yishpoit. That's where the din will be. Where Rebbeinu Shalom will be there. B'chol dayan she'eno din emes la'amitai, a dayan who perverts the din, goyim l'shchina shtitzalik misal, he causes the shchina to go away. Shenemar mishoid aniyim, from the causing tsar to aniyim, me'enkas avyonim, from the calling out of the poverty-stricken, ata oikim. Yomer Hashem, I'm going to get up. Rabbi Shalom says it causes me to go away. From Rab Shmuel, Rab Yonasan, kol dayin shenoitel mizev and oisel lezeh shaloi kedin. Any dayan who takes from one and gives it to another, it's not like the din. HaKadosh Baruch Hu noitel mimenu nafshe. The Rebbeinu Shalom takes away his nefesh, takes away his life. Shenemar al tigzol dal, don't steal from the poor. Hidalhu, because he's poor. Val titka ani bashar, and don't oppress the ani in the gate. Ki Hashem yorv rivam, the Rebbeinu Shalom will fight on his behalf. Kaves kaveim nefesh, and he will, the one who causes the evyoin, the ani, to expire, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to get a similar result for the person who did it. She always look as if there's a sword between his thighs, and Gehenna is right underneath him. Shlomo had shishim gibayim around him. And this is a reference to the Sanhedrin. All holding their swords, and they know the art of war. Each man has a cherev on his thighs from his fear of the night. So we say that's referring to the pachad of Gehenim as if it's underneath him. That's what the Gehenim is daimah to Laila. Pachad Laila means that these Sanhedrin of Shlomo all live in fear of giving a wrong shot. Darsh Reb Yoshev Yitem Reb Nachum Bar Yitzchak Ma'idach Sev Beis David Kayam Hashem Dina LeBoike Mishpat Vatzili Gazal Miyad Isaac. That Beis David, this is what Hashem says: you do the din in the morning with Mishpat Vatzili Gazal Miyad Isaac, and you save that which was stolen from the person who took it. You only make a din in the morning. Why do we say Dina LeBoike? A dayan should only say what the psak if he's certain as certain as he is of the morning. If not, he shouldn't say it. He learns it from a different source. Say about Chachma that it's my sister. Then you should say Vimlav al Tamrei. Amr Yeshua ben Levi. Asara sheyoshim bedin kula tova b'tzar kulan. 10 people who are sitting in din. It's as if there's a chain around all of them. They're all equally chayiv. They're all responsible for the decision. What do you have to tell me this for? It's obvious. It's only talking about the din that we said before. That if there's a talmud, a yoshev b'nei rabbi, that he has to tell him. He also has responsibility. He can't absolve himself by saying, "Let the rav decide." If he has an idea, he should share it. He would get, when he got a din Torah in front of him, he would bring 10 other rabbanim. Each of them will take a portion of the beam, a piece of the beam. I won't have to do all the heavy lifting myself. I'll have them share it. When he had a question of something as a treifa, would bring all of the butchers from the town of Machshir. There were many butchers. Amar kiheche de limpton sheva mibshura. Again, so that they should each take a splinter from the beam. I shouldn't have to lift everything myself. Okay, we'll stop over here. We're gonna have a bunch of Amr Abdimya Darsh Nachum Bar Kain.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. And Beli Neder will be in Shul, not tomorrow,